good things are happening. This is not all about Lead Champ Pro. This is about you, Riad, because we've known each other for a while. We got started in insurance at about the same time. And you're one of those guys I always like look at. And I'm like, we both got the beard. We're the same age, and I'm like, he's one of the OGs. He's one of the good ones. So it's good to talk to you, man.
Appreciate that.
Now you're over in Arizona, and I guess the first thing, because you've been crushing it. First, just like cats out of the bag. I kind of wanted to know, like, how much did you sell so far this week? It's as of recording, we're about halfway through the week. It's like, what is it today? Thursday, so we got a couple more days. So how much did you write this week?
So, and I'm a little confused about our submit because I know we talked about this and you said it changed, but we just did our numbers and they posted it was 27,900, I think.
Okay, is that since Sunday?
For the week, it's. I guess our team still posts from Thursday.
Okay,
to Wednesday.
full week. So full week, 27K, and then what did you do last week?
34, I think, something like that.
So like 60 grand in 2 weeks in sales.
Yeah. It's insane. Yeah.
Let's go.
The crazy part is how many of those appointments were self-booked, which I didn't even touch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I guess let's jump into it. So I mean, we both started at home and, we've done all kinds of stuff. I did the internet leads, $1,000 a day, Monday, Thursday. We did the mortgage protection hustle.
Yep.
You did probably a little bit longer than I did. So like roll back time. I mean, you've hit Hall of Fame, which means you've issued over 400 grand issue paid life insurance business a couple years now, haven't you?
2 years in a row.
2 years. Okay. So you're no slum. You're like, you're the guy, right? You know how to make this happen. So like, I just, anybody that watches this, right? Like you're somebody who sells at a very high level, sold over $1 million on your own pen. But like, I know, with everything changing, I always have had this feeling in life insurance sales where it's like every time you think you got something figured out, like something changes.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. So what are, I guess, what are the different things that you've done? And like you did in home, then mortgage telesales. Like what was it? What was all the things that you sold?
Yeah.
In that way.
First year and a half was dialing on my own. First off, learning how to dial and going in the home. So I remember about 10 months in, and we weren't really talking about telesales. FFL was strictly like in-home. That's the way that we did it. So I think about 10 months in, people started talking about telesales, and I actually have a phone sales background. So I decided to take a shot at it, and my issue paid went down quite a bit because it was kind of like starting over. I didn't know what to do. I was changing up too much. I remember having a conversation with Jamie and he's like, dude, you just need to do your in-home, right? So I actually went back in the home for a few months and then I saw people crushing it over the phone. And I'm like, I have to figure this out. This is a better quality of life, not having to drive several hundred miles every week to sit at people's kitchen tables. So figured it out, and then I made the switch to mortgage as well, full-time mortgage, which at first was mailers, and then we switched over to the call-in leads. And
okay.
I did that for probably 2 years.
How much were you, when you stopped doing mailers, how much were you spending on a mailer?
Oh man. Last mailer I bought was like, the cheapest was like $67.
Okay. Yeah. I think I did that. The last one I think I bought was like 86 or something like that.
I refused. So I stopped before then. When they were talking about those prices, I'm like, no,
$90, $100 for just a lead. And then somebody else had already called them, in Delaware.
Exactly.
This stinks. I can get this for $20.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. And then those call-in leads, like, I mean, people still run those all the time. I mean, I have my opinions about them, but like,
that's how I hit Hall of Fame twice, was off those leads. But now that I did Facebook final expense before. Now we're doing Facebook IUL, and I just remember when I was doing final expense Facebook, it's a different ballgame, but they at least know that they filled out a form.
Yeah.
When we're doing calling leads, they're just calling a number on the little postcard they get, and it's talking about mortgage protection. So they didn't actually fill out a form. So it is definitely a different ballgame.
Yeah, you get more of like, what's this about? Is my mortgage okay? You know, which it's like it's one of those things that everyone's like, oh man, what's like the perfect lead and things like that. I mean, yeah, mortgage in a couple years ago, like it crushed. Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned Jamie at one point he was paying like $35 for a mailer.
Mm-hmm.
I never experienced that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
And
insane. And then there was a time where Facebook final expense. I mean, people still crush on Facebook final expense. I'm not saying that, but like I just remember, you'd go buy 20 leads, you get a whole half of them. You'd go meet in person, a good majority of them, and then all of a sudden one day it's like, boom, things are different, meta changed, whatever else.
Yep.
And so yeah, that's wild. And then here we are with IULs, and hey, who knows what's going to bring tomorrow? But obviously you've been crushing it. So what was it like? I guess how much different? Because people, it's IULs are hot right now. It's like, oh, I need to get into that. But like, how has it been? You just sold 60 grand in 2 weeks, like making that transition for more of like a traditional life insurance, mortgage protection, and then going, hey, let me talk about IULs.
I mean, first off, if you learn the skill set here, and like we have plenty of training to do, so you can sell anything at a high level. There are still, like, even at convention this year, there's several $1 million producers that are selling final expense and mortgage. So you don't have to do IULs, right? That's just what I prefer to do now because I learned final expense, I learned mortgage. I want to learn, how to use my license in its entirety. So, I would say with IULs, the transition, and I kind of learned from when I switched from in-home to telesales after talking with Jamie, him telling me just do your in-home. I kind of learned not to switch too much.
Yeah.
Right. So when I moved over to IULs, I did the same sales process, saying a lot of the same stuff. All I did was change the verbiage. So it's essentially the same, but instead of talking about a mortgage, I'm talking about someone's retirement, right? And the living benefits and stuff like that. So I essentially do it the same. I just changed a little verbiage, and the systems obviously, like Lead Champ, is helping out tremendously, but I didn't change too much, to be honest.
No, that's good. I think we had talked about it. I've had this conversation with other folks. I remember when I started trying to sell IULs, like you go from doing what works to thinking I need to have like some really fancy, big flowery conversation about finances and all this stuff, and you're on the phone for a long time, and you're like, we didn't do anything. We just talked, and then they're confused, so they need to think about it, and it goes nowhere. And like just coming back and making things simple, and here's the process, and here's what we're going to do today. Like just doing that, things got easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just keeping it simple, especially with, showing illustrations. You can confuse someone very, very quickly.
Yeah. It's obviously you want to show them like what's going on, but I mean, with all that, it can go off the rails pretty quick too, if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't mind, right? So before you switched over and you started, doing IULs and running with Lead Champ, what did your sales look like? I mean, you picked the Hall of Fame, but I mean, I know that they weren't super ideal. That's kind of what caused us to start talking.
Yeah, I mean, definitely more of a grind, right? With and the immediate thing that I'm noticing is premiums are definitely higher, and they said it before with IULs. Obviously, you do have to realize that it's our commission's based off of the target premium, so it's not exactly. But even then, the premiums are higher than final expense and mortgage. So that initially means that I don't have to talk to as many people, or if I do talk to as many or more, I'm going to issue more. With mortgage, I would say the best when it was in its prime I was probably at like a 5-to-1 ROI to my leads,
Okay.
which was like the best. I would say over the last year and a half, maybe a little longer, it's been at like 3.5.
Okay.
So immediately noticing the difference with IULs, it's been at like 6 to 8 utilizing lead champ, which is way better. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Yeah, 6 to 8. I would say our average user that's using lead champ software on our leads is like selling 6 to 8 times of what they spent. So like that's not crazy. Like I said, part of it is once you learn to sell, like you're selling bigger premiums. Other part of it is like, do you have any idea? Because I mean, we have the self-booked appointments, we have AI that's booking appointments hands-free. Any idea like how many appointments per week, per month that you have set that you or your dialer didn't like actually set yourself? Like percentage wise, maybe.
I mean, we can look. You guys track it, which is nice. So I would say on average, it'd probably be for the lead flow that I have, it's probably around 40 to 50 self booked
40. Okay.
out of
Okay.
a couple hundred leads or just over a couple hundred leads.
Yeah.
So 25%, which is pretty dang good.
Yeah. So it's like, 10, 12 appointments a week that are getting booked without you doing anything.
Yep.
That's cool. Did I tell you about the guy that was like crushing it? He 9x'd his lead spend without calling any of them.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. I mean, like you shouldn't do that. You should definitely call him, right? You'll have more appointments, but he was like, yeah, no, I'm not good at calling.
and that's one of the things that I was going to say with mortgage. I did not have a system like this, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of premium fell through the cracks. I guarantee it, right? With this, even though I've only been on lead champ for 3 months, I'm looking back to like month 1 that I started, and it'll show like a sale from a lead that I got back in December.
Yeah.
Right? So with me dialing or having my dialer dial, we're just using a spreadsheet. There's no way we're hitting every single lead. It's just impossible, right? So lead champ, you just set it and forget it, and you'll get self booked appointments from months ago. So
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I've been running on it myself for 18 months maybe. And at this point I got 15,000 leads in my system. And so like every single week it's like, oh, this person's from 9 months ago. This person's from a year ago.
yeah,
That happens every week. And sometimes I'll talk to them. I'm like, hey, we had an appointment, last June.
mm-hmm.
And they're like, how do you remember this stuff? I'm like, well, I mean,
Yeah, and you wouldn't know otherwise, but it's literally stamped in the CRM. So.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, so like that's really cool. It's so funny because 3 years ago, one of my agents, we were talking. He's like, "Oh man, we should build a CRM." I'm like, "What a dumb idea." That's what I told him. And here we are, and it's working. But so now let me ask you this: has it happened yet where you've gotten on the phone with somebody and they're like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Mouurssali," and they've already watched like the video and they kind of know what they want?
100%. It's happened a few times. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, what all do you know about IULs? And they literally start like rattling off everything. And I'm like, oh, you watched the video, huh? And they're like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what I want.
Yeah, no, yeah. Which I would say it doesn't happen all the time or even most of the time, but maybe like 15 to 20% of the time that happens. But every time it does, you're like, oh, I just need to.
Cool.
But now let me ask you this: how many? I feel like you've been writing a lot of policies, like policy count, compared to like maybe some other people. Like, how many policies did you write this week? Do you know?
Oh, shoot. I should know this, right? But it's been different with the IULs. I want to say probably 8 to 10.
I didn't know. Like,
Something like that. One of them was the one that I talked to you about, where the guy could not qualify for an IUL, and we did
whole life.
4 separate whole life policies on one on one call, basically one person. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, no wonder you're selling so much. I mean, 8 to 10 policies. If the average premium is $2,000-3,000, like that makes sense. That
yeah.
makes sense. Well, man, that's awesome. So I guess how it's going good. You're getting ramped up still, so it's not like you're on top of the mountain and just chilling and whatever else. We talked the other day, and you're like, yeah, I feel like every day I'm getting better.
Yep.
So when you say, like, one of the conversations you and I had a while back, you're like, oh man, like we were talking about dialers, and I was kind of sharing you some stuff, and you're like, you got a lot of systems for stuff, and at the time I'm like, I didn't feel like I did, but I suppose I did, right? So what are some systems that you've kind of tightened up on? Maybe even stuff that you used to do but forgot about, or it worked so well you stopped doing. Like, what's some stuff that you do now that's just helping you to be more efficient?
Dude, to be honest, it's a lot of what you are providing in Lead Champ. Like, I don't have to, like, before I would have my admin make spreadsheets for everything.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, it's all in Lead Champ, and we both can be in there handling stuff. So, like, missed payments, because it keeps track of our whole client book too. And
Right.
I did have to upload my client book from, the last 4 years, which was ridiculous. Like,
Oh, did you get that $1 million policy from that?
no.
Okay.
No, I did get quite a few policies off of it from
Okay.
people that so I've been bad with my yearly reviews.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
So
same.
as soon as we plugged them into Lead Champ and it spanned everyone, I had nothing but like good responses about it. Oh, I thought you left. Oh, I'm glad you're still here. Oh, hey, I need to talk to you about insurance for my husband. I actually just did one this week from that. It was really nice older couple, and I'd helped the lady out, but she's like, I want to get my husband. And then I was like thinking that it's just going to be a really small, like, final expense policy. And the guy's like, no, I want the max. And it's like $375 a month.
Yeah.
Like, simplified issue approved on the spot. I'm like, oh, I would have never talked to that person because I'm bad with my reviews, right? Which is bad on me, but if you do this business long enough and you don't have good systems and processes, you will have stuff that'll fall through the cracks.
We all have good intentions. Like, I have good intentions to do it. I'll try harder tomorrow, but it's just, you forget, you put it off, I'll get to it later. Later never comes. So for anybody that doesn't know exactly what he's talking about, right, we have basically it's a client campaign. So you can take your book of business, upload it to Lead Champ. They're going to get payment reminders, all the birthday cards, holiday cards, messages updating them on what's going on, all this stuff. And so, you uploaded it, and I don't know, you got a ton of messages day one, just like you said, hitting you up, asking you questions. Hey, glad to have you, that kind of thing. Which is really cool. It's kind of like a video game the first day, if you have any book of business. So you definitely want to get in there. So my retention personally in the 18 months I've been, partly is because of IULs, partly is because having systems has gone up about 15 or 16%.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, at a Hall of Fame pace of 466 last year, like, that's like $50,000 or $60,000 saved.
Yeah.
Just because you have automations and systems and crazy thing, it turns out if you talk to your clients more, they give you more referrals and don't cancel.
I mean, even the little stuff like the happy birthdays and happy 4th of July, Merry Christmas, like all that stuff adds up. And that's all stuff that once your client book gets big enough, you've been doing this long enough time, it would take a lot of work to do that without a system.
Yeah.
Right. And then you guys also have the postcards, which you mentioned earlier, which is just genius. And I have had the emergency response network happen as well, where you get 3 or 4 new leads in and you're talking to their family and you're like, hey, I helped out your family. We should get you set up. And it's all stuff that I knew about, but I don't want to say I was lazy, because there is a lot of stuff to do that I just didn't do. It would always fall through the cracks.
Or, I mean, like, I used to send a card, I'd have my assistant send a card, not 13 cards over the course of a year or anything.
Yeah.
Now, something you said the other day to me. So, we both have dialers, and I know sometimes people either want to get a dialer, they've had a dialer, it didn't work out, but we were going through this, and both of our people that dial for us have gotten a lot better recently. I know you've been having what, 10, 12 plus appointments per day?
Yeah. She does something around there per day. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what I guess, yeah, how many dials does she make? How's that? What have you done to kind of help get that
Yeah.
up?
So first, anyone that's new, like remember, for my first year and a half, I did the dial. So I learned how to get really good at it. My first 3 months, I remember I was doing like 1,000 dials a day. I was dialing like 12, 13 hours.
Oh yeah.
To get good at this.
Oh yeah.
And I actually, in the beginning, I knew that people had dialers. And I'm like, oh, I want to get one. But then I'm like, wait a minute, how am I going to teach them how to do it? Like,
I remember it was like no, it was like a taboo thing.
Yep, it was a taboo thing. And then I actually knew some people that did get them, but they didn't train them. And I saw how it worked for them. And it was just a really bad investment. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this till I get really good at it. And then I'm going to find someone that I can teach to do it. So with the person that I have, they have been dialing for me for quite a while. I do weekly trainings with them. I mean, I even asked you when we were moving into IULs, hey, how do your dialers how do you train them? Like, what do you have them say? Stuff like that. And just working with them, every week, they do get better because they're doing a lot of dials. And I have mine doing anywhere between 400 and 500 dials a day. So once again, that would not be possible without a system in place, which you guys do have a great partnership with a dialer system, Kixie, that is integrated with LeadChamp, which is just amazing. Like, it's mind blowing that you can, like, my dialer is literally talking to people all day, every day, my leads, and it's dispositioning in LeadChamp. And I get to see like where they're at in the pipeline, how many dials it took to book them, all that stuff. Like, it's phenomenal, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So what you said something today that, like, I don't know how long ago though, your dialer she was dialing, like, I don't know, what was it, $2,000 a month or something? What did you tell me? What was the number?
Yeah. So when we were doing mortgage, and I thought it was a good amount. I think I didn't have the right systems in place for her, but I think the last month we looked, she did like 2,000 dials, which is literally not like nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah.
The last couple months since we got Kixie, and I've been training her a little more on the IULs. Last month she did like 9,600 dials, booking a lot more appointments. So obviously, the more dials you do, you're gonna book. But I think before we had like a very simple, like, I can't even call it a power dialer. She was just literally plugging in the number and dialing, almost like it was hand, but it was on the computer. So
yeah, like dial pad or
exactly.
different ones or something.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, I had one of our agents, she hired like 6 different dialers in a few months, and she's like, "Oh, these dialers aren't good," and I'm like, "Okay, it feels like 1 or 2, but it's 6. Like, what are you doing?" And it's funny. So if we get a new agent, we work with them for the, like, potential to earn an override, but when we're paying a dialer, paying them, we don't pay attention to them, expecting them to perform. Isn't that funny?
Yep. Which is exactly like at first I was, and then I kind of got lax on it. I wasn't really managing them as well. I wasn't keeping track. And then I go and look, and I'm like, wait a minute, 2,000 dials in a month? I was doing that in 2 days. Like, there's something not right here. So
yeah. Well, I told you about mine. I mean, we have $2 for, like, me and some people on our team, and went through, I don't know, they've worked with me for a few years and they're great, but went through a phase where I looked up one day and I was like, they're making like a couple, like 200-300 dials on a power dialer with 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And within a week later, they were making 1,000 dials per day. And all that changed was we started tracking it every day. Like, surprise, surprise, if you track it, it goes. And so now we've kind of gotten on a good rhythm where our I have my assistant who posts our dial numbers every single day from like a report sheet. And then on Saturdays, I get on with some of my agents and we dial on and we record it and we timestamp it, send that to them for training. And then Wednesdays we get on, we listen to recordings. And it's like, oh, this was great. And it's funny, since we've been doing that, this last week we listened to their calls and they were crushing, like clearing the schedule and, doing all the things that we know to do that is really easy just to kind of phone in, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you track it, it grows. All the sayings you've been around say, if you track it, it grows, and whatever you pay attention to gets better. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, what, I guess, kind of where you're at now with, you've had a couple of good weeks in your belt. Like, what's the kind of the next thing you're hoping to just, keep going, or you're trying to tweak something, get better at something? What's your focus right now?
I think with IULs, I've kind of narrowed down that I can sell them pretty easily, but I need to figure out the underwriting part of it. So as soon as I figure that out, and it's a bit different than final expense and mortgage because we're doing simplified issue, doing a lot more fully underwritten. So you really have to be like detailed with their health and whatnot. So I think that's one of the things that I'm going to focus on next. But ultimately, the reason why I did choose to get on Lead Champ is not just to be able to sell, but to free up my time to be able to build my business, to recruit and train other agents. So, I mean, obviously, with all the automations of Lead Champ and AI, it's doing a lot of the heavy lifting that I no longer have to do. So I could literally set aside a couple days a week to just focus on, the business side. So now all Lead Champ has to do is come out with a recruiting end.
I know a guy. I'm going to talk to him. So do you think, like, as you get this like really dialed in, that you could like just close off your schedule, let's say, a day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and then sell, like, hit your numbers. Everybody's got like numbers they're trying to hit. Maybe it's 10 grand a week, 15 grand a week, 20 grand a week, whatever it is. Like, do you think you could do it like 3-4 days a week once you get it dialed in? And then
I can do it right now easily with the amount of appointments that are on my schedule. I just need to block out the days. The rest will be on there. We already know with telesales, it's about a 50% no-show. If that's a really good rate if you can get it there. So you can double book, triple book your time slots, and you'll be able to talk to enough people in 3 days to write enough premium. I mean, just the other day, 2 days in a row, actually, I did over 10 grand in a day.
Oh, geez.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's due to the fact that IULs are higher premium, but also I have enough appointments on my schedule, even with no shows. So,
I feel like if you have somewhere between 12 and 15 appointments in a day, that you're pretty much a shoo-in to write 2 applications.
I agree. Yep.
If you have 8 appointments, maybe you get a few more no-shows, maybe you only write 1 app, whatever else. But 12 to 15, if you can do that, like I went on a stretch before. That was kind of the number. I was trying to figure out like the telesales, how much leads that I need to like be hitting that number. And it was like, if I can get 12 to 15 appointments a day, I don't even care what happens, who says no, yes, F off, whatever. I'm writing 2 apps. And that's pretty much been true the entire time. So then it's just like, how can I keep a decent quality of leads and get like 12 to 15 on my schedule? And then at some point you're like, oh, I don't need to do that 6 days a week. Let me do it 5 days a week. Let me do it 3 days a week.
Exactly.
Let me get some people on my team to help, and they'll take some of the appointments.
Yeah. As soon as you guys set that up too, to where we can send leads to other people.
Des, she's got several people that they're just sending out leads every single day. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, well, that's awesome, man. It's good to talk to you. You're in Arizona. You're gonna be at the event?
I'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll speak highly of the lead champ. Hopefully we can do some videos.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to do some videos.
I did a call today for my team. We do trainings every day. Today was systems and processes. What do you think I talked about for most of the call?
Hey.
Sharing my screen, showing the power of it, like, and that's the crazy thing. And I was telling them, because we have a lot of new people, you guys have it so easy coming in right now. 4 years ago,
tell them
ball game.
Tell them how it was. Tell them how it was.
And the crazy part, so yeah, it was buying leads out of Lead Center that were 6 to 12 months old, final expense, having to dial all day on Monday. The goal was to set 15 appointments for Tuesday and Wednesday. You would go out in the field. I would drive at least 200 to 300 miles in a day, to get no-showed. And then when I was no-showed, I was dialing in the parking lot of a grocery store, or I was door knocking. And then I would leave my house at like 8 a.m. and I wouldn't get back until like 10, 11 sometimes. So the entire day I'm out, and, wear and tear on car, gas, eating my lunch while I'm driving to an appointment. If I have to go to the bathroom, I'm stopping at a, Circle K or something like that. So just way different. And the funny thing is, though, when we started, everyone that was here for a few years, they were like, you don't realize how easy you have it. We were going in the field writing paper apps, and we wouldn't find out until, a week later if they're approved. Then we would have to drive back out if they were declined and have them fill out another one. So
and now we got people like that don't make phone calls selling 9 times. They're just, it's
crazy. Yeah. And now we literally, and that's the thing that I love about what you guys have built, is you either adapt or die in anything that you do, right? And you guys have decided to adapt in a major way. There's quite a few CRMs that I've tried that are not doing the stuff that you guys are doing. And I think that you guys have put in a lot of thought of, what direction that, tech and stuff is going in the future. And you're starting to utilize a lot of it, which is making our job a lot easier. I don't know that we'll ever get to a point where, you'll just be able to send out a text and sell insurance. I still think there's going to be human interaction that's needed, but all the stuff that is being done is far and away above any CRM that I've used in the last 4 years. And I've used a lot of them. So I can't say enough good stuff.
I appreciate that. And I mean, like we're not geniuses or anything like that. I think the main thing that I really am I guess proud of what we did is like, dude, I'm just like you. We're selling every day, and I have a bunch of bad habits, So like when people are like, oh, it's a great system because I do this, it's like, yeah, I'm terrible at annual reviews. When people say I want to think about it and I tell them I'm going to write an email, I forget. I forget to call people about their missed payments. I forget to call people when they're declined. And, as embarrassing as it is, I'm like, well, what can I do to like fix that so I can just click a button? It happens the same way every single time. And it turns out that I'm not the only one with those problems.
Yeah. And I think that's why this is so good, is it's literally like for us, by us, right? You guys are doing it. You've been doing it for the last several years. So the ins and outs of what the average insurance agent goes through on a day-to-day basis. So you guys are able to implement things that make our life a lot easier because you've done it. You're not just, hey, I want to build this thing for insurance agents, but I've never sold insurance ever. You guys actually have done it. So.
Now, I don't know if you know what you just said. You said for us, by us. So some people say like we're the Uber of this, we're the Uber of that. Yeah. I'll be like, no, we're the FUBU of life insurance CRMs.
Exactly.
For us, by us on the low. Yeah.
For insurance agents, by insurance agents. So yeah, it's it literally, and you guys have it right. I was looking at your logo. I think you added to it. The game changer insurance CRM. Definitely. Yeah. I've only used it 3 months, but it has been a game changer so far for my business.
Well, dude, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, when we get out to the event, what I was going to say is we need to make sure to like scoot out and go grab a cigar. So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate you being on. For everybody watching, if you want to go check out LeadChamp, leadchamppro.com. Very, very simple. And make sure to follow us. We have more content, more trainings, and more announcements on new things that we're going to come release very, very soon. So we have a couple announcements on April 1st, May 1st, and then we're going to be in Arizona at the event, hanging out with Riad and about 1,000 other agents on June 6th. So you have a great one, and we'll be back on the next whatever we're calling this episode, show, stream. I don't know, but we're going to do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.